Hi, it's Elise Lunan, host of Pulling the Thread, and today I'm talking to Belle Burden, the author of Strangers, a memoir that has struck such a nerve in our culture. If you haven't already read Strangers, I'm sure you've actually seen or heard of it. Strangers is a beautiful, hard-won, honest, and ultimately affirming story about the shocking end of Belle's marriage and what she chose to do after. I loved the book, but whether you've read it or not, I think there's so much to take from what Belle shares in our conversation today. We talk about how and why so many of us organize our families around a patriarchal or masculine figure, and about carrying the weight of wanting to make a partner feel good above wanting to make ourselves feel good. We talk about the common discomfort and deep ambiguity many women have toward money and how we could approach our finances in a partnership instead. We talk about friends in the aftermath of divorce, why Belle chose to tell her story in the way she has, and the person she has evolved into since.
All right, so let's talk about you because you obviously are the most interesting part of this story. And even though I think your story is also exemplifies the way that so many of us build our whole lives around centering or circling around the sort of like male patriarchal figure, right? And so you could talk a bit about that, the way that your work, which maybe was never your passion, although maybe it is your passion in some way, but that how you what you did to make him feel good.
Yeah. And I think that is also a family pattern. I think in my family of origin, we all orbited around my father,
Mm-hmm.
in a variety of ways. And I definitely repeated that. I think it dated, in terms of making him the center and a desire to, often unconscious, a desire to build him up, started from the time before we got married. And it really started with, our financial inequity. I came to the marriage with inherited money, in trust. He came to the marriage with, earning a salary but not having any assets. Um, and my family, insisted that we sign a prenup, and he was very pained by that, very hurt by that. Um, and even without the prenup, though, I felt his, that he felt less than in some way because of that power dynamic. So I think I entered the marriage, um, eager. I loved him and eager for him to feel good, and eager for his success, eager to, for him to fulfill his dreams. And I think, it took a number of forms. One of them it was financial. And I think I wanted to make him feel that he had some power financially. So when we bought our apartment and then our house, I put, both of our names on the deeds. I gave him full control and supervision over our financial lives, from our taxes to our, um, I paid the bills online, but conversations with financial advisors and accountants, and convinced myself that he was better able to handle it. And really lost touch with the specifics on that. But I think the biggest thing probably is that, his career and his ambition became the all-consuming focus of our marriage and of our family. And, it was like everything was working towards it. And I wanted to stay home with kids. That was important to me. Um, but there was never sort of a rebalancing as the kids got older to sort of put focus on what I might want to do next. And I take responsibility for that, but it became his hard work, his going to the office on the weekends, his missing things with the kids became this all-consuming focus. And I think when you do that, you really start to lose touch with your own talents and passions and ambitions. And, I think that that's really where I let myself down, is, this constant kind of lifting um, lifting him up in all those ways.
Yeah. Well, it's
And
interesting to yeah, think about the
go ahead.
dynamics too, and I think we all relate to that in some way. How when you're the person for whom everyone rotates and you're not even conscious, right, that you're holding the center of gravity. If anything, you're
Yes.
so removed from family life that you're like, what I mean, as evidenced by his behavior and being like, I don't want joint custody. Bye.
Yep.
This like, I don't really have a role to play here. Meanwhile, you're like, everything has been constructed for your comfort and to tune to
Yes.
you. It's this,
Yes.
it's such a weird, but this is how so many of us set up our family structures.
Yes, I think that's very well said. It's very, very well said. It felt like it was all tuned to his desires. But I think you're right. He didn't feel essential to the running of the house or the raising of the kids, or which may have made it much easier to walk away from it.
Yeah. It's like a great irony, right? Where you're
Yes.
both left and you're like, I don't understand. I've built a whole life with you on the stage and now my like lead actor is abandoning this production. Like, how does this work?
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yes. And the only answer is that you start taking the lead role,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
hard to envision when that actor leaves.
yeah.
But what I talked to my kids about on the financial thing is with my daughters to not assume that they can't do it, to not assume that their spouse, if male or female, I guess, is better able to handle it, or that it is somehow essential to their feeling good about themselves to hand that over. But also with my son to not tie his sense of self-worth um, to uh, to finances or to his work to the point where it is not an equal partnership.
Yeah.
So I think those conversations
Yeah.
are really important to have.
Well, and I think that your book really puts to light to the feeling, this sort of deep ambivalence that so many women have towards money, right? And your
Yes.
money being inherited, it's like, I didn't earn it. I don't deserve
Yes.
it. Money
Hmm.
is bad. It's not really mine. I don't have a relationship to it. Um,
I don't understand
I
it. I
don't
can't
understand
handle it
it.
well. Yeah.
Yes. And so this like, that I think so many of us relate to, whether we've inherited money or made every dime ourselves or come from nothing. It's this like deep, deep ambivalence about money.
Yep.
And um
And that there's
and then
something unattractive about claiming
yeah,
your power over it.
yeah. And as you've learned in a brutal way, because by putting everything in your trust into the common area of your marriage and not preserving any of it for yourself, he's entitled to half of everything that you have. And meanwhile,
Yep.
he was not putting his own money into a joint account, right? Like he
Yeah.
kept his own.
His assets stayed in his name. So my money was our money,
It's
but
so
his money
wild.
was his money. Yes. And what's really wild is that I was not conscious of that, or I did not want to be conscious of that, or I was just so trusting that it would be, that he would treat me with the same sense of fairness and sharing, that I did.
Was
Um,
that in your prenup that he was like, anything that I earn is in my name? How is
What
that
was
legal?
the standard prenup is that you keep what you come into the marriage with. In my case, I could keep it doubly because it was in trust, but so you keep what you come into the marriage with, but anything earned during the marriage is split 50-50. He asked me to change our prenup to say that um, anything earned during the marriage would not be split 50-50 unless we affirmatively chose to put it into joint name. So then what happened was I moved my money out of trust, put it in joint name by putting his name on the deeds, and he accumulates his assets, never hiding anything, but not telling me what his bonus it was and et cetera. And all of those accounts, only his name on it. And we split our expenses 50-50, the paying of the mortgage and all that kind of thing. But the bulk of his assets he accumulated in his own name. And I was conscious on some level and my lawyer advised me against making that change, and I made it
Obviously.
anyway
Yes.
because I wanted to please my fiance and make him feel good and make him feel like his wisdom was, more important than a partner at Sullivan and Cromwell. Um, and it was in my brain the whole marriage. Like I knew that this was out there, but I couldn't quite address it and kind of say to myself, if this marriage ends, what is this going to mean for me? And where are the assets and what is in his name? And is he really not, I think I assumed that he was not making a lot of money and that we were really pulling in the same direction in an equal way.
Yeah, that is a really hard lesson. And I'm sorry you had to learn it. And
And I'm super conscious of the fact that we are talking about, a high level of privilege and that most women going through divorce have it much, much, much harder. And I turned out fine. It is not the life that I expected with him, but I wouldn't trade this now. Being in
no, no,
charge
and
of
I
my
it's
own,
all well
yeah.
taken, but you are reaffirming the story that women should feel really uncomfortable about money, right?
Yes.
And that it's not fair, it's not appropriate, and if anyone is curious, it's not like at the end he said, "Not only have I bailed on my family and abandoned you, I'm going to make this right." No,
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 no.
no,
No. And what I've learned in talking to other women is if you're left in this brutal way, you can expect that the divorce is going to be really, really
really brutal.
brutal
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think for anyone who is listening, who is ostriching, which is common, I
Hmm.
think it's like you got to get nosy and involved in your financial life if you're partnered. And if you go into, we have to decouple emotion from money and recognize like it's a currency and it's an essential currency for functioning on this
And it's power.
and
Yep.
its power. And it's in that sense, like marriage is a business. So, um,
A hundred
you're not an
percent.
employee, you're a co-owner of this relationship, this business.
Absolutely. And I had moments writing the book where I just thought like, am I gonna really reveal that I did this, that I made these decisions? And I really I really got behind it. Like I want to tell this. And I occasionally feel like it's a little painful to be a cautionary tale. And people say, but you were a lawyer. And I'm like, I know, but
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that if my book has the impact of both my peers or older women or younger women not yet married, if it forces those conversations and the end of ostriching, however you say it, that it will have a great purpose because it's very unromantic. It's dry. It's not exciting, but all of us can understand it. And it is, a quarterly conversation about where assets sit, whose name is on what would happen to you if the marriage ended, and pushing for equality in that, and most importantly, transparency, because um, I think even if you ask for that conversation, there are some partners who will not want to have that conversation with you, and that really is a problem.
Yeah. Right. And as impossible as it is to imagine the disillusion of a marriage with the person that you love,
Yep.
there's deep acrimony and dare I say hate by the end of these partnerships, and people get wildly nasty
Yep.
and scared, and their worst parts come out. And so anything that you can do to protect yourself now without raining on the marriage, but it's a business, and these are
Business.
big questions. And
Yep.
all right, so let's talk about sort of the emergence of Belle, right?
Mhm.
Because this book, in many ways, is your coming out story, your second cotillon. I'm just kidding, but
I didn't
but
have one, just so you know. I did
you
no
did have one.
debut. Yeah, no. Thank
But
God. I would have been very uncomfortable.
but which is I know has been excruciating, is a deeply introverted person, but you
Hmm.
have been sort of born again, both as a writer and as sort of the protagonist of your own life, right? And as
Yep,
someone who has broken this
absolutely.
pattern that has played out on your side of the family. So can you talk a little bit about that, and like these norms that you were abiding by about what we do and do not do as nice ladies?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and I really did learn it. I learned it by watching. I learned it by listening. I learned it in my bones. I think it's in my bones. Both my grandmother and my mother were with unfaithful men. My grandmother with her husband, her second husband, and my mother with her boyfriend of 30 years. Um, and they were serial philanderers. But my mother and my grandmother were taught and taught me by example that you do not talk about it. These are private matters. You, in fact, clean up the mess, which often is can be a public mess, and you protect the man. You really protect the man's reputation. You protect the man's belief in his own importance, and you carry on. And your hurt or pain or embarrassment or any feeling in the matter is just not what's important. The important part is staying quiet about it, really. And when I got married, I thought I was marrying the opposite of these men. They were public figures, big personalities. I was marrying a pretty quiet, fairly introverted lawyer who did not have a public presence. He was not flirtatious. With other women. And so I sort of had this smug sense that I was stopping this pattern, but of course I repeated it in this like even more dramatic way because he didn't want to come back. My grandfather and my mother's boyfriend both begged for forgiveness and to come back. And in the days and weeks after he left, I really struggled with this. I thought, how did this happen again? Like, how did this happen to me? Am I like innately attracted to this, are these men attracted to something in us? Um, and I thought, how am I going to stop what is now really a pattern? 3 generations, this is a pattern. Um, and how do I stop this for my kids? And it that this really dovetailed with an impulse that I had from the first week after he left, which I still can't really explain because I am very quiet, very private, much more so than my mother and my grandmother. But from the first week where he said he thought it would be better for us if I told people the split was amicable. And when he asked me that, I just knew I would never lie about this. I would never lie about what was happening to me. And in fact, became quite open about it with people whenever I ran into them, whenever I ran into anybody. So the two things dovetailed into this conviction, which is carried through, writing Modern Love and writing the book, and now doing things like this, which is the only way to break the pattern And honestly, for me to survive this emotional like bomb was to be open and honest about it and to talk about it and to not protect the man in the story to my detriment. Um, and, I don't know if this will repeat in the next generation or in my grandchildren's generation. Um, but I'm hopeful that I have changed the chemistry in our family by talking about this in what I hope is a very honest way that is not vengeful, but really names it and names the pain, names the impact on me, um, both financial and social and emotional, and does not kind of gloss it over with my children like everything's fine, this is all okay, but just say this is what happened,
Yeah.
and you lived through it and I lived through it, and I'm hoping that changes something. And then for my personality, I think it really is a shift for me to be so so open about something that is, kind of a humiliating story. To have your husband leave you is a very hard thing to say, to admit to be open about. But I'm not just open about that. I'm open about mistakes. I'm open about my innermost intimate thoughts. And it has been um, it has been really liberating. It's been really, to be honest about your life is like a very, it's an incredible thing. And I think for me, I needed to hit um, total emotional rock bottom in order to uh, to be able to do that and to be able to reconstruct something, a sense of self that turned out to be much more true to my essential nature. And I don't mean being public. I still am very introverted, and like after, doing an event, I need to get in bed for a couple of days. Um, but I mean in terms of just not being attached to things looking the right way or thinking what people think of me, and living a much more free and relaxed way. Sorry, I've been
Yeah.
talking. I hope that makes sense.
No, totally. Um, you writing your modern love, will you tell that story? Because I think that for anyone who is like, even thinking about the impact of this book and its success, and the fact that your query, which came in through no special regard, right?
No.
You just sent it to
Mhm.
the Modern Love inbox and it sat there and sat there and sat
It
there and
did.
sat there. Um, can you talk about that process a little bit and like the cajon, like I don't want to say the cojones because that gives again all the credit to the men, but just like the inner courage of like I'm gonna do this.
I'm gonna do it. So it started like our divorce was done. We'd signed the documents, and I really felt this desire to write down what had happened. Because so many different narratives were floating around, and I really wanted to write it. And I'd wanted to be a writer when I was a teenager. I got dissuaded from it by another classmate in college. And I found that as I started writing down the story of what happened, that I got very interested in the art of it again. Like I just was like, okay, how do I build suspense? When does the phone call come in? How do I um, write this in a style that feels powerful to me? Um, and then I started taking a memoir writing class, and I wanted to move on to the next thing. And I just thought, okay, I realized when I was working on it that I was pretty much writing it in the style of modern love, which I've always read for, very long time. And I looked up the word count, and then when I was done, I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna send it. I need it. I need to send it off to the universe. Did not think it would be picked. 9 months went by. They usually say you get a response in 3 months, I think. Um, and so I followed up and I emailed them and I said, can you just let me know either way? And the editor of the column, the senior editor, wrote back and said, actually, we want to publish it. Um, but you should really think before we start editing, you should really think about um, if you want to do this. Like, do you want to be public about this and talk to your children about it, talk to your family about it, and really think if you want to do this. And if you do, we can get going, but think about it. Take the weekend and think about it. And I talked to my kids. I talked to my mother and my stepmother who had read it and loved the piece, but they were both very afraid for me. They thought there's gonna be a financial impact, because your ex is gonna be really angry. They didn't say it like this, but I think they said it more like, do you want your life story to be attached to this? Like, do you want your life story to be about your husband leaving you? Um, and I thought about all those things, and it felt deeply terrifying, but there was absolutely no way I wasn't going to do it. I just was like super clear that I wanted to do it, even though it felt completely terrifying. I felt driven by a desire to one, own my narrative, two, to be a published author, but really had a sense I felt so alone and so filled with shame and isolated as I went through it. I just felt like I was the only person on earth, and I had a sense that getting it out there would help other people. Um, but the thing that I just can't quite explain is the just that like I think because everything else had just kind of fallen apart, and other than death or illness, like this is the worst thing that I could imagine happening. So I just thought, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
felt great.
I'm sure there's like a deep desire. I mean, I think we can all put ourselves in your shoes. And when we've been wronged, um, betrayed, and done dirty, like there is a deep desire too to be like, is he gonna get away with this? And I feel like in your writing of the book, the social response to what happened was not going your way, right?
Mhm.
Like he was not censured. People were not outraged. I mean, I'm sure people were, but that it was like the same BS. Like he's the more important member of this tennis club.
Yeah.
Like, oh, prepare for battle, Belle. Like, oh, men will be men, boys will be boys.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Um, Playing hardball, all of those things. Yes.
yeah,
And I think it was the way I would phrase it, I think you're right, but the way I would phrase it is that you really get erased. You
yeah,
get really minimized and really erased in this process. And part of that is an acceptance of male behavior. I think if a woman did the same thing, it would not be accepted in the same way.
no,
But that acceptance of it, and what I felt like was real dismissal of me and an expectation that I would disappear, um, that I would sort of scurry off now that I didn't have the hedge fund husband. Um, it was the publishing of this felt like hang on, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm actually going to tell you what happened. And it was a real sort of like flag in the ground of I am here and this is
yeah,
what happened to me. And you can wish me to disappear. You can act like nothing happened, but I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. So that's what it felt like.
yeah,
Other than um, I don't want you to get away with this. It was more like uh, I'm telling you that I am here.
yeah,
And because he kind of expected me to just quietly go away. And I
yeah,
wanted to tell him too. I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
yeah. It seems like watching friends divorce, and when even when things like this don't happen, where there's sort of this like, this person really messed up and this person is behaving in a way that is inappropriate, like wrong, right?
Hmm.
And as you said, like if a woman was like, I had an affair, I'm leaving, have fun with the kids.
Yeah, I don't want
I
anything to
mean,
do
it's
with kids.
wild to
Yeah.
imagine, like, I'm moving into a place, I don't have any bedrooms for the children. I'll see them at a hockey
Imagine.
game once a
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
Um, it's inconceivable. But I also feel like it seems from what I hear that the most painful part of a divorce too is that like the loyalty lines are not drawn, and that there's sort of this like, that people won't fight your battles with you, and they're like, yeah.
They won't. And in fairness, I don't think I would have either.
Yeah,
I think I believed more in the idea of, I mean, people talk about you have to be neutral. You have to like, there are two sides to every story, and you have to, and I end up feeling like neutrality is very self-protective, right?
agreed.
You're like, you want to keep your relationship with both. You don't know who's going to end up at the club. You want to just keep all your options open. You don't want to pass judgment. Um, and now I really believe in taking a stand and saying, this is not right. This person is not being treated fairly. And I'm going to be clear about that. And I'm going to be clear to them about that. And
Yeah,
the people who did that with me, I still, which I wrote about some of them, it was just such a clarifying, clear, um, it helped me so much. It just was because there's so much gaslighting that goes on, I think, in these circumstances about what is real and not real and what's okay and what's not okay. And to have someone like kind of clear out that haze and say, what's happening to you is not right.
yeah,
Um, but I think in divorce, it's so easy. Um, when you're trying to explain what's happening to you or what's happened to you, um, you tip so easily into being this sort of like angry, bitter, rejected woman. And I talk about how it almost happened overnight to me that even though he had kind of done the unhinged thing, I became the hysteric overnight because I was upset and I was, you know, crying and I think as the weeks went on, if you start to say like he left me and he's not gonna, he doesn't want to pay me child support and he's not gonna do this and this, you become sort of this whiny person. So it's I think women get very dismissed often as they try to describe what's happening to them. So I had to be very careful and calculated, and you can see people kind of looking down as you start to describe it. And I think that was part also for Modern Love, like um, I've made you all uncomfortable when I try and tell you in person, but now I'm going to actually just write it.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's a challenge for all divorcing people to
yeah,
be able to like explain what's happening to them.
yeah. And I think you can extrapolate it all to anyone who feels aggrieved by someone else. And you're like, yeah, I get it. On some level, this is like a personal thing. And then at the same
Yes.
time, you're like, but how can you not extrapolate from this pattern of behavior that, like, why would you choose them? Why do
Yes,
they get a
that's
pass?
true.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true. That's really true.
So you glossed over this really quickly, and I know we're essentially at time, but
I'm
in
okay if
high,
you want to keep going.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll keep you for like 3 extra minutes.
Okay.
But was it high school or college?
College.
College, you were shut down in a writing seminar by a classmate, and has he reached out to you? Just kidding.
He has not.
I guess your
Um,
point is like it
so
wasn't a big thing to him, and it stuck in your mind and changed the
yes,
course of
it
your
was.
future.
Yeah, it was probably, like a 30-second critique of a short story. I had arrived in college believing I was going to be a writer. I got into a selective writing seminar and submitted a short story. And a senior, a guy who spoke with great, he's very cool looking. He spoke with great authority. Um, and he said, it wasn't a specific critique on the story, but he said that I could not write, that I did not have technique or talent, essentially. And I think he probably forgot about it, 5 minutes after class, and I changed the whole trajectory of my life, and I got through the class, but I stopped writing for 30 years. Um, and I've started to believe that my years as a lawyer, and I'm still practicing, actually have helped my writing. And so maybe this was all the right way to do it. But I would be horrified if my daughters believed someone so deeply that they stopped doing something they loved. And so I don't think the problem was that he said it. I think the problem definitely was that I believed it and that I acted on it. Um, so it's I know where he works. My brother found him on LinkedIn. And what's interesting is a couple people from um, our university reached out to me to say, "Is it this guy? Because it sounds like him." And that was quite amazing because I was like, "It is." So they must have been in class with him too. Um, so that
Is
was
he a New York Times bestselling author?
he is not a writer at all, interestingly enough. So no, he's
Send
not.
him your book scan numbers and a clipping from the
Yes,
New York Times book review.
I,
Um,
I might do that. I'm just sort of hoping that he'll read it and recognize himself.
uh, I recently saw a college boyfriend who was a lot of things, but somewhat diminishing or very competitive with me in a way that I
Yeah.
didn't really understand when we were 18 or 19. And he is a writer as well. Um, with some success, and we were chatting, and he was like, so I was like, tell me about what you're up to, and he was telling me how he was writing book reviews and blah 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 blah, blah and working on a
Uh-huh.
novel. I was like, that's amazing. And then he looked at me and he said, so you're an influencer?
Oh my God.
And I said, are you
What did you
what?
say?
I
I
said, I'm
was
not an
like, it's like,
influencer. And he was like, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I was
well,
like,
it is
yes you do.
disrespectful. Yes, you
Yeah,
do.
yes you
Yeah.
do. Actually, I'm an author, and a better
Yes.
selling one than you
Yes.
fucking asshole.
Exactly. He's like, I am going to make you smaller
I'm gonna
right in
diminish
front of me.
you. Yeah, I hadn't seen him in 20 years. I was like, here we go again. But it was actually helpful, Belle, because I was like, oh,
You could
that's
see it
why.
so clearly. Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like when I graduated from college, I had certainly been knocked down however many pegs and just like did not think of myself as a serious person.
Right. So it had
And
worked. He had gotten
uh-huh.
in your
Yeah, yeah,
head.
yeah. And
And
still to
now he
this
was
day.
not going to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I was like, "Oh, that thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is
Thank you for
where
being
that came from."
exactly who I thought you were.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Oh,
love that.
man.
Oh
All
my
right, Belle.
God.
Well,
That's
I'm
amazing.
so happy for you. I know I'm sure
Thank
that
you.
you're like, this is, well, you're going to go and be an amazing novelist. That's what's next. Yeah.
Who knows? I'm going to try, but who knows? We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I'm just excited to be able to find time to write again and to do it. But
I can't
you
wait.
you now I've been interviewed by you twice, and they're like, top of the list of my
Oh, thank
experiences because
you.
you're just so smart. And I do think it dovetails with your book so well. It's like a lot of similar themes, and your book was so
Yeah.
helpful to me and
Oh,
so
good.
so
Thank you.
beautifully written too.
Yeah. That programmed goodness, it only
Yes.
really gets us that far, so far,
Yep.
right? And then
Yep.
when it falls
And then
apart,
you
it's
hit a
like,
wall. Yep.
holy shit, I have
Yep.
structured my whole life on playing a role that I thought would keep me safe.
Yes.
Um,
And it did
but
not.
thanks for making the other side look so great.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. It's much better over here.
All right. Have a wonderful
Thank,
day, and I will
thank you so
hopefully see
much,
you
Elise.
soon.
Okay.
All
Take
right.
care.
So I just want to double click a little bit into the culture that Belle was born into, this Upper East Side, New York City socialite world where this idea of what it was to be a good woman was stamped on everyone. And she talked about this a bit, but I just wanted to read to you from two parts. So she writes, we had all been taught to fill in the hole that men left, to be quiet about men behaving badly, to move on with grace. Publishing an account of what happened to me was shining a light on that hole, the deep crevice James had left. I was refusing something, the cleaning up, the grace. And then after she published this Modern Love piece, her mom wrote to her, you have spoken for so many women, including me, who have suffered the consequences of ruthless male prerogative and behavior. No more shutting up women about what men have always gotten away with. Rebirth, new life. I am so proud. All right, friends, I'll see you next time.